There were several old houses in our neighborhood, but one stood out in particular. Small, gray, with a roof sagging from age, surrounded by a rusty fence behind which the overgrown weeds were taller than a person. The windows were always shut, even in the heat, and it belonged to Elena Petrovna, an old fortune teller whom people here both feared and sought out in desperation. She never went to the store or the market, yet almost every day someone would walk into her yard. People said she could remove curses, open roads, and heal with words. But among the older residents, there were other rumors that after visiting her, people began to have problems, the kind they'd never had before. My friend Irie, a rational woman, didn't believe in magic, but her life started to fall apart. Her husband filed for divorce, her mother ended up in the hospital, and she faced layoffs at work. One of her colleagues quietly advised her, "Go to Elena Petrovna. Don't laugh, just go." Ira went, and after that she seemed smaller, not physically but inside. She became quiet, avoided meetings, and there was an emptiness in her eyes. Within a few months, she quit her job, vanished from social media, and moved to another city. That stuck with me. I didn't believe in superstitions, but I wanted to understand what this old woman was doing to people. One autumn evening, when it was already dark, I walked up to her yard. The gate creaked when I pushed it open. The yard smelled of dampness, old hay, and something sharp, herbal. The door opened almost immediately, as if she had been expecting me. Olena Petrovna was thin, with a sharp nose and a pale face, its wrinkles looking like fine cracks in dry earth. Her eyes were dark, almost black. She silently led me into a room lit only by a table lamp with a dim yellow bulb. "Sit," she said, her voice quiet but cold. She took my hands in hers and I felt how dry and cold they were, almost inhuman. She looked straight into my eyes, and in that moment, it seemed I couldn't look away. She began asking questions. At first, simple ones. My name, age, job. Then more personal, who I lived with, my relationship with relatives, how much I earned, whether I had any loans. And I answered. I told her everything, even things I usually kept to myself. Time slipped by unnoticed, and when I tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, she lightly squeezed my hands and said quietly, almost in a whisper, "I already know everything about you, and about your loved ones, too." A chill ran through me. She opened an old notebook and began writing something down. I managed to catch a glimpse of a few lines. They weren't prophecies, but clear, factual data, names, birth dates, addresses, bank branches. I quickly found an excuse to leave, giving her a small amount of money for the session. 3 days later, strange things began to happen. Calls from unknown numbers, silence on the other end, emails with threats, claiming I owed a large sum of money, then a message from the bank saying a loan had been taken out in my name, one I had never applied for. My mother called me in tears. Her pension had been blocked due to suspicious transactions. My father had money missing from his account. And then I remembered Olena Petrovna's words. Later, Ira told me that after visiting the fortune teller, she discovered 2 loans in her name, even though she had never given her passport to anyone. The police shrugged. There was no evidence. They say people like her work in networks. They don't just tell fortunes. They collect personal information, drawing details from people's lives under the guise of predictions. Then they pass it on to others who know exactly how to use it. Now, when I see an old woman on the street offering to remove a curse or see the future, I don't feel fear of the mystical. I feel a cold, rational dread. Because what they can take isn't your soul, but your life, broken into pieces. After everything that happened, I decided that simply sitting in silence wasn't an option. The more I thought about Olena Petrovna's words, the more one thought tormented me. How many more people end up in her hands without even realizing what they're getting into? I began gathering information. I found a few women on social media who had also gone to her. Almost all of them told the same story. After the session, they started having financial problems, debts, loans, strange threatening phone calls. One woman, Marina, admitted she had even gone to the police, but the investigator told her straight, "You have no evidence. Did you give her your personal details yourself?" You see, I realized that no one would touch her officially, so I decided to do the one thing I absolutely shouldn't have done: go to her a second time, but this time prepared. I took a small camera hidden in the button of my coat and turned on the voice recorder on my phone. The door opened almost immediately, just like the first time. Olena Petrovna looked at me and barely smiled. Not in a friendly way, more like the way someone looks at meat they've already tasted before. "Oh, you again. Somehow I knew you'd be back." I sat at the same table. She took my hands again and started her questions. I answered briefly, avoiding details. But she noticed. Her fingers tightened around mine, and she leaned so close that I could feel her breath. Sour. Heavy. "Don't lie to me," she hissed. "I can feel when someone's hiding the truth." I lied again, and in that moment, her expression changed. Her gaze became cold and completely empty. She stood up sharply, left the room, and returned with an old phone that looked like a push-button model but had a camera. She started taking my pictures without asking. "This is for my records," she said, and I noticed my hand trembling under the table as I tried to discreetly switch off the recorder without drawing attention. I found an excuse to leave, but when I stepped outside, I realized someone was following me. The footsteps were quiet but steady. I glanced back. A man in a dark jacket, hood pulled low. I quickened my pace, and so did he. Only when I walked into a crowded cafe did he disappear. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. A man's voice, calm, almost gentle, said, "You shouldn't dig where you don't belong." I turned off my phone, but sleep never came. The next day, when I checked the camera and recorder, I saw the files were corrupted, just a black screen and static. Even though at home everything worked fine, and I had checked it before leaving. And now, as I write these lines, I realize that I might already be on her list. Because a few days ago, someone left an unmarked envelope in my building. Inside, a photograph taken from the window across the street, showing me standing on my balcony, talking on the phone. You know what's the scariest part? Not that she exists, not that she can ruin your life. The scariest thing is that she's always close. And if she wants to, she'll find you, even if you change your number, your city, or your country. Because she doesn't just collect information, she collects people. There was no magic in that house, only old walls, a dark notebook, and a woman who knew everything about you. Even the things you yourself don't remember.